In this segment, I want to explore the question, what is recovery? And the reason I bring this up now in this section on tools to calm the chaos is because it is like your GPS. It helps you know where your family is on this journey at any given moment. Let me show you what I mean. In the world of addiction treatment, the word recovery is most often used to describe the outcome we are seeking. But it's not the only word used. Some use the term clean, others use the term sober, and then sometimes they're used together, clean and sober. And you might be asking, well, don't they all mean the same thing? Well, let's start with the word clean. Most of the time, this term is used as a way of saying that the person is not using or had a period of time of not using, such as she's been clean for 5 days, or he was clean for 2 weeks. Well, next, there's the term sober. Sometimes sober is used in the same context as clean, but applied to alcohol. So he's not intoxicated, so therefore he's sober. But many times the term sober is used to imply a period of continuous time without using. For example, he's been sober now for 3 months. And often the use of this term implies improvements in attitude or behavior, which is why it is sometimes combined with clean. Clean and sober implies more than just not using. But there's still a lot of gray area even in using this term. So what about the term recovery? How is that different from the others? Well, let's look at the definition of recovery as developed by the Georgia Recovery Initiative. After interviewing hundreds of people who considered themselves to be in long-term recovery, they developed this definition. Recovery is a deeply personal, unique, and self-determined journey through which an individual strives to reach his or her full potential. Persons in recovery improve their health and wellness by taking responsibility in pursuing a fulfilling and contributing life while embracing the difficulties one has faced. Recovery is not a gift from any system, and recovery is nurtured by relationships and environments that provide hope, empowerment, choices, and opportunity. Recovery belongs to the person. It is a right, and it is the responsibility of us all. So, what do you think? Does that sound more comprehensive than saying that the person is clean? And even if you use the term clean and sober, I feel that this definition of recovery is more measurable when assessing someone's progress. Now, before we go deeper, I want to go back and revisit why I include this as a tool to calm the chaos. Having a good working definition of recovery is like having a GPS when you start out on a journey. With my GPS, at any given moment, I can see where I am, where I'm headed, and what I have to do to get there. I think we could all agree that this degree of clarity is vitally important for the individual on the journey to recovery. But what about the family? How does this benefit the family? Well, my experience shows that it benefits the family in 3 ways. It brings clarity to our language and helps us move out of old patterns of denial. It provides a clear and definitive measure of progress, and it's just as applicable to the entire family as it is to the drug user. So let's look at each of these a little bit deeper. 1, clarity of language. Most parents of young adults in early recovery, when asked, "How's he doing?" will respond by describing how much better he looks, how many days sober she has, or maybe even a comment about school or work. And while it's good to think positive and try to express the positive, these statements don't really describe the progress. They're usually just something to say that makes us feel better temporarily. Like most denial mechanisms, in our heart, we really don't know. We've seen them stop using before only to start again. And they usually look better when they're not using. And we've seen them get plenty of jobs only to quit or get fired a week later. So now, let's explore how understanding what recovery really is provides a clear and definitive measure of progress. Let's pick this definition of recovery apart and turn the parts into questions. Okay, the first sentence. Recovery is a deeply personal, unique, and self-determined journey through which an individual strives to reach his or her full potential. Well, here are the questions that come from that first sentence. And by the way, these questions apply to both the drug user seeking positive change and the parent seeking to be an ally for that change. So I'm going to direct the questions at you, the parent. Okay. 1, are you on a journey? Where are you on that journey? Just beginning? Started, but now questioning whether you really want to take the journey? Ready to give up? Or maybe you're ready to dig in, determined to see it through, and you're feeling energized by the progress that you're making. Next, is your journey self-determined, or do you still feel like you're here because someone or the situation requires that you be on this journey? Is this a journey where you are striving to reach your full potential? Is it deeply personal? By now, you're probably figuring out that most of these questions do not have simple yes or no answers. And perhaps it would be more appropriate to ask the question, on a scale of 0 to 10, how deeply personal is this journey for you? Let's continue with the next part of the definition. Persons in recovery improve their health and wellness by taking responsibility in pursuing a fulfilling and contributing life while embracing the difficulties one has faced. Are you improving your health and wellness by taking responsibility for your life? Are you pursuing a fulfilling and contributing life? And are you embracing the difficulties that you have had or that you currently face? Again, on a scale of 0 to 10, how would you answer? Next, recovery is not a gift from any system. Recovery is nurtured by relationships and environments that provide hope, empowerment, choices, and opportunities. Are you expecting that your son or daughter will achieve recovery simply because they attend or attended some form of recovery program or treatment program? How about yourself? Is your recovery nurtured by relationships and environments that provide hope, empowerment, choices, and opportunities? Or are you still hanging out with the same people, asking the same question of, why do they do this? Visiting the same addiction Facebook group where everyone talks about how hopeless and helpless they feel. Okay, and now the last part of this definition. Recovery belongs to the person. It is a right and it is the responsibility of us all. Do you feel like your recovery belongs to you? Or is it dependent on how well your son is doing? Do you believe that no matter what happens around you, that you have a right to be healthy and happy? And do you approach that belief with the conviction that it is your responsibility to nurture your recovery? You see, when we approach recovery in this way, it becomes something that is tangible, measurable, and specific. It shouldn't be reduced to the simplistic approach of how they look or how many days clean they have or whether they have a job or not. Sure, All three of those things can be indicators of progress on the journey, but they are only pieces of the picture. Understanding what recovery is calms the chaos because you now know how to measure the progress along the journey. It no longer matters what your daughter told you about how many days clean she has. You can now measure her behavior against this picture of recovery and determine how much progress she is making on the journey. And here is your oxygen mask moment. You can also do the same thing for yourself. With courage, you can now stop measuring your commitment by how many meetings you attend or some other measure that you've made up for yourself. You can ask yourself, on a scale of 0 to 10, how am I doing in each of these areas? And then, regardless of the score that you give yourself, you can ask, what would I have to do to move it up a notch? That's what recovery is really all about. Where am I today? And what areas of my life am I ready to work on next? One small step at a time, one day at a time. Are you ready for your journey of recovery? I've included these questions in a file that you can download, and I encourage you to see this exercise as one to revisit regularly. Remember, you are worth it, and so is your child and your family.